My name is Janice Howard, and the night my life quietly split into a before and an after began with something so small, so stupid, so dismissively cruel that I didn't even feel it hit me at first. It was like hearing a glass crack somewhere in the house, distant, faint, but knowing instinctively that something important had broken. I had been packing for over an hour, curating the pieces of a trip I'd planned, down to the last thoughtful detail. 7 days in Byes, the vacation I'd dreamed of sharing with my boyfriend Miles. My phone glowed beside the lamp, illuminating my meticulous checklist reef-safe sunscreen swimsuits, his favorite cologne, the new novel he'd said he might read on the beach if the mood struck. I'd even folded the linen shirt he loved on me, the one he said made my eyes look ridiculously blue. The apartment smelled of lemon cleaner and anticipation. I had spent the afternoon scrubbing everything spotless, wanting us to come home from our trip to a sanctuary, not a mess. In the fridge, a bottle of his favorite Sauvignon Blanc was chilling. 2 glasses waited on the counter for the pre-flight toast I'd been looking forward to for weeks. My heart felt full, buoyant, warm in a way it hadn't felt in a long time. This trip, this entire reset, was my offering to us. The key turned in the lock at 7:15 p.m. I smiled, already turning toward the door to show him the progress I'd made. The itinerary, the reservations, the tiny surprises I'd tucked into the corners of our adventure. But when Miles stepped inside, the energy shifted. He was already dressed in what I privately called his going-out armor, a fitted black shirt, expensive cologne sleeves rolled just enough to show the new watch he kept name-dropping. His hair was styled in the deliberately messy way that I knew took him close to 30 minutes. He looked stunning, honestly. He always did, but he passed by me and the open suitcase without really looking. "Hey," I said, warm. "Eager. You're home early. Big night with Sasha and Chloe. Pre-gaming at Chloe's new place in the Heights," he muttered, dropping his clutch-size wallet onto the counter right beside the clean wine glasses I'd set out. His eyes finally flicked toward the suitcase. "You're packing already, Janice. We don't leave for 36 hours. I laughed softly. I like to be prepared. Avoid the last-minute panic. "Do you want to see the itinerary? I finalized everything this afternoon. I even got us that private cabana for the—" Later he interrupted, scrolling through his phone, offering a quick, dismissive smile. "I trust you." It should have sounded like a compliment. It felt like a chore being shoved back at me. I swallowed the tiny sting of it, smoothing over the silence. "Are you excited for Beast?" He looked up. Really looked, but not with joy or shared anticipation. His gaze was assessing, clinical, like he was checking whether I fit into the image he'd crafted for tonight. "It'll be a vibe, I guess." He shrugged, and the motion was careless enough that his watch flashed under the light. A week of sun. Can't complain. "A vibe, you guess?" My laugh came out thinner this time. "Miles, we're staying in a treehouse suite, literally hanging over the water. You said it was your dream." I know. He waved a hand, the bracelets he always wore jangling. "It'll be great. Just—" A sigh, heavy, loaded. He turned his back to me, searching through his dresser for a necklace he liked to wear out. Just what I asked. He didn't answer until he found it, a silver chain he clipped around his neck with smooth, practiced hands. Then he turned to me, eyes cool tone, almost bored. "Just, while I'm gone with the girls this weekend, try not to embarrass me, okay?" The air in the room thinned, sharpened. "Embarrass you," I repeated, my voice flattening. "How exactly would I embarrass you, Miles?" "You know." His voice dipped into that gossipy tone he used with his friends, not with me. A tone that held no warmth. "Just don't post any of those cute little cooking videos of yours, or tag me in memes my friends don't get. Just be cool. Invisible online." He offered a light laugh, the kind that scratched instead of soothed. "I told the girls you're well. You. They get it." I felt the floor tilt under my feet. A punchline. I was a punchline. Not for something I'd done, but for who I was. "What does that mean?" I asked quietly. "Well, me." He rolled his eyes, a practiced, polished gesture, as if he'd done it to others many times before. "God, don't be so sensitive. Sasha's boyfriend is a DJ. Chloe's guy is literally a signed model. They're on a different wavelength. They have standards. I just need you to be chill. Don't try so hard. It's embarrassing when you try so hard." Each sentence landed like a precise cut, surgical in its cruelty. Don't try so hard. Be chill. Be invisible. They have standards, and I didn't. The last 5 years telescoped into that moment. The patience, the careful love, the soft gestures, the ways I'd supported him through job changes and friend dramas. all recast through his eyes as something childish, cringe, uncool, something unworthy. I saw myself suddenly as he must have described me to his friends, a woman too earnest, too thoughtful, too Janice. And then, the strangest thing happened. The humming, buzzing excitement in me, all the anticipation went silent. It didn't shatter, it didn't explode, it just extinguished. Cleanly, quietly. I nodded once. Okay. He froze. He'd expected a fight. Tears. Begging. Something he could later mock or minimize to his friends. Okay, he echoed, suspicious. Okay, I repeated, my voice steady, final. Have fun with the girls. His suspicion softened into something that looked disturbingly like triumph. He leaned in and pressed a perfunctory kiss to my cheek, the kind that didn't even graze my skin, and grabbed his keys. Don't wait up. He left. The lock clicked. The apartment fell into a silence so total it felt sacred. I looked at the suitcase. I looked at the wine glasses. I looked at the space where he'd stood delivering my sentence. And in that silence, something inside me didn't break. It settled, like the final piece of a long, painful puzzle falling into place. I walked to the suitcase, placed the neatly folded linen shirt inside, and closed the lid. Not to finish packing, but to begin leaving. When the latch of the suitcase clicked shut, the sound felt like a verdict. A full stop placed at the end of a chapter I hadn't realized I'd been trying to rewrite for years. I stood there for a long time, my hand on the handle, breathing in the new kind of silence that had filled the apartment. Not hollow, not grieving, clean, sharp, honest. For the first time in a long while, the air didn't feel heavy with someone else's expectations. I unzipped the suitcase again, but not for the trip. The linen shirt came out. The novel I'd tucked in for miles, my bathing suit, all placed back into my dresser with deliberate care as if returning borrowed things to the rightful owner. Then I opened my closet. I didn't tear things out. I didn't rage or sob or shake. This wasn't the stormy exit Miles probably imagined I would have one day, dramatic, messy, emotional something he could recount later with a smirk and a punchline. No, this was execution. Calm, surgical, a withdrawal of presence. The suitcase that was supposed to carry joy became a vessel for escape. My work clothes, the sweaters I loved, my passport, the fireproof lockbox with my documents. I packed only what was mine, what was me, and left behind everything that belonged more to the version of my relationship than to my actual life. In the living room, I paused at the framed photo hanging above the bookshelf. A snapshot from our hiking trip last year. I remembered the day vividly, how I'd picked the trail packed, the snacks, carried the backpack because Miles complained it hurt his shoulders. I remembered telling myself he was just tired, just stressed, just having an off day. Looking at it now, I saw it clearly, me smiling into the sun. Miles, bored, annoyed, already somewhere else. I took the frame down, placed it in a box, and moved on. Every item I removed from the apartment made the space look less like a home and more like a stage that had always been built for him, not for us. And I was quietly taking down my part of the set. Halfway through, I unlocked my phone. 2 seats, 7A and 7B, tomorrow night. I tapped cancel reservation. A non-refundable fare. Loan $500 gone in an instant. My thumb didn't hesitate. It was, I realized, the cheapest price I had ever paid for my self-respect. The treehouse resort cancellation came next. Then the snorkeling excursion. The private cabana, all erased with delicate finality. The pings of confirmation emails landed softly in my inbox, a strange lullaby for a life being dismantled. By 2 a.m., everything I needed was neatly arranged in my car in the underground garage, fitted with the quiet precision of a woman who'd made a decision that no longer hurt. What remained in the apartment were objects that felt like props in someone else's show. The oversized, abstract art Miles insisted on buying, loud, chaotic, always giving me a headache. The furniture we'd chosen during a week when he was trying to impress his influencer coworker. The spotless counters I'd cleaned hours earlier, back when I believed we were a team. I took a final walk through the apartment. The clean kitchen. The living room suddenly off balance without my books. The bedroom, my half of the closet gaping like an empty mouth. On the counter, I placed 2 things. The apartment key removed from my keyring. A sheet of printer paper weighted down by that key. The message was simple, written in steady handwriting. No embarrassment. Problem solved. No signature. None needed. He would know. And more importantly, he would understand. Before leaving, I opened the fridge. The bottle of Sauvignon Blanc sat there chilled, waiting for a celebration that would never come. I didn't pour it out. Some things deserved to be found. I slung my laptop bag over my shoulder, took one final breath of lemon-scented air, and walked out. I didn't lock the door. That was his problem now. A 24-hour motel on the edge of the city took me in without asking questions. I paid in cash, slept 5 dreamless hours in a bed that smelled vaguely of bleach and old air conditioning. When I woke at dawn, I didn't feel hollow. I didn't feel frightened or unmoored. I felt light, like someone had cut the anchor I didn't know was dragging behind me. My phone buzzed once a weather alert from Beas, mostly sunny 87 degree. I deleted it without opening the app. Then I went into my contacts and changed his entry from Miles to simply Miles. It looked right, like something had been corrected. The ghosting had begun. His first text arrived at 10:17 a.m. Miles, hey, where are you? Did you go for coffee? I could picture it vividly, him waking slowly hungover, expecting me to be in the kitchen, making breakfast, or watching one of my cute little cooking videos, expecting the world to still be orbiting around him. I didn't reply. The silence felt like an exhale. At 10:39 a.m., Miles, Janice, seriously, where is all your stuff? This isn't funny. I was in a diner eating eggs, watching the rain streak across the window. The world moved on outside. I moved with it. By early afternoon, the calls started. The first 2 went to voicemail. On the third, curiosity won over, and I listened. His voice was sharp, panicked, cracking in all the ways he hid from his friends. Janice, pick up. What the hell is going on? Did you leave? Because of last night? God, you're so sensitive. It was a joke. Just call me back. We need to talk about Beas. The airline sent me a cancellation email. Did you do that? Call me. Not an apology. Not accountability. Just a complaint about inconvenience. I deleted the voicemail. The text escalated in predictable stages. 1:22 p.m. You canceled the trip. Are you insane? That is unbelievable. 2:45 p.m. Okay, I get it. You're mad. You made your point. Fine. Now come back so we can talk like adults. 4:11 p.m. The note. What does that even mean? Problem solved. I'm not a problem. 5:30 p.m. Janice, I'm getting worried. Please just tell me you're okay. I was okay. More than okay. Across the diner, a couple laughed over shared pancakes. A toddler dropped a spoon. A teenager scrolled through their phone with bored indifference. Life was moving on without him. So was I. I blocked his number, and the silence settled into place like a crown. Blocking Miles's number should have felt dramatic, final, maybe even cruel. Instead, it felt quiet, like closing a window during a storm, the chaos still raging outside but no longer able to reach me. 2 days passed. I stayed in the motel the first night, then moved into a short-term sublet the next. A tiny studio with peeling paint and warm afternoon light that slanted across the floor in a way that felt honest, unpretentious, mine. I made coffee. I organized my suitcase. I sat cross-legged on the bed and breathed without waiting for someone else's mood to determine the air quality. And then on the second evening, my phone lit up with a message from a number I didn't recognize. Ben 8:04 p.m. Hey Janice, are you and Miles okay? Sasha's group chat is going nuclear. I blinked, surprised. Ben and I weren't close, a mutual friend from college, loosely orbiting Sasha's social world. Me, 8:15 p.m. We're not together anymore. Ben, 8:15 p.m. Damn. Well, the way Sasha's telling it, Miles said you had a meltdown and ghosted him. But Chloe's cousin told me Miles has been calling you cringy for months. Said he planned to break up with you after the trip. But now the girls are saying your note was the most powerful thing anyone's done in their circle. I stared at the screen. For months, he'd been preparing to walk away after I had spent a year planning our vacation. After I had rearranged my life to support his. My lips curled in a small disbelieving smile. He'd been framing me to his friends as embarrassing. Yet my absence, the silence he once demanded, had become a legend. The irony was almost poetic. I sent a quick thank you to Ben and set my phone aside. Miles had wanted someone invisible. He'd gotten exactly that, and for the first time, visibility was being stripped from him instead. The next morning, a new number called. I let it ring. It went to voicemail. A trembling voice filled the room. Janice, it's me. Please. I need you to hear me. The girls, Sasha and Chloe, they're being awful. They're not taking my side. They keep asking what I did to make you leave like that. They keep talking about your note like it was some legendary burn. My own friends think I'm a monster. My reputation is just call me. You need to fix this. You can't leave me to deal with this alone. There it was. Not I miss you. Not I was wrong. Not even I'm sorry. Just this is ruining me. Fix it. His fear wasn't about losing me. It was about losing the social currency he'd been cultivating for years. His curated image was cracking, and he wanted me to plaster over the seams. I listened twice, once to hear it, again to feel nothing. I didn't block this new number. Let him see the messages deliver and rot unanswered. Ghosts don't hunt the living. They simply leave. By midweek, the desperation had grown tentacles. Lauren, his older sister, called me next. I answered on the third ring. Janice, come on, this is ridiculous, she snapped, skipping any greeting. Miles is a mess. Just talk to him. Let him apologize properly. I was assembling a $40 bookshelf when she said it, sliding a wooden panel into place. Lauren, I answered calmly. This is between me and Miles. It's over. Please don't call again. You're hurting him, she insisted, voice sharpening with familial entitlement. No, I corrected, quietly fitting another shelf into place. He hurt himself. I just stopped participating. And I hung up. Blocked her, too. The circle of silence widened. By Friday, the tone of Miles's messages had evolved. Again. From pleading to bargaining, now to rage. Another new number. Another long wall of text. I get it, you're punishing me. You think you're so above everything now. Please. You're a coward, Janice. A coward who can't even have a real conversation. You're petty, bitter, pathetic. I read it while sitting on my new apartment's tiny balcony, sipping a cold beer, watching the city lights wink on one by one. His words buzzed like flies against a window, annoying but incapable of reaching me. He wanted a reaction, any reaction, but all he got was silence. A week after I left, I received the wedding invitation from our mutual friends Jamie and Amir. The timing made me laugh. The universe had the strangest sense of humor. Part of me considered declining, avoiding places he might be, avoiding potential drama. But that would have meant he still had power. And he didn't, so I RSVP'd yes. Not for him, for me. The wedding was held in a modern art gallery. Tall windows, polished concrete floors, minimalist florals. People I hadn't seen in years greeted me with warm smiles and quiet curiosity. I looked good, confident, unburdened, whole. That's her, I heard someone whisper. The note girl. I smothered a laugh. Then I felt it, a sharp, searching stare landing on me from across the room. Miles. He was with Sasha and Chloe, but the dynamic looked fractured. They didn't lean into him the way they used to. His shoulders sagged, his eyes flicked around the room like he was drowning and searching for a surface. When our gazes met, he froze. I turned away first. The confrontation came later, in a quiet secondary gallery filled with black and white photographs. I stood studying an image of a lonely pier when I sensed someone approach. Janice. I turned. Miles, I said with polite neutrality. You look well. The formality rattled him. He hadn't expected calm. He'd braced for tears, anger accusations, a scene he could twist into a story later. You look different, he murmured, eyes flicking over me. Can we talk 5 minutes, please? The please was jagged in his throat. I glanced at my watch. Of course. We stepped into a quiet alcove. He launched immediately into a shaky monologue. I've been in therapy for 8 weeks. I realize now how horrible I was. I used you to feel better about myself. I was insecure, Janice. I was the embarrassing one. You deserve better. He paused, eyes shining with rehearsed vulnerability, waiting for absolution. I said nothing. I stood relaxed, hands in my pockets, the silence between us soft and unthreatening. The note, he whispered. It broke me, but it woke me up too. What you did was so cold. So final. But I deserved it. He stepped closer. I want you back. Ah! There it was, the real script. I met his gaze steady and unshaken. I'm glad you're gaining clarity, I said softly. He leaned in, hope flickering. For what it's worth, I continued taking your advice that night. Was the best decision I've ever made. My advice, he echoed. I smiled gently. Try not to embarrass me. Don't try so hard. You told me exactly what you wanted, so I stopped trying. With you, entirely. The color drained from his face. This wasn't forgiveness. This wasn't anger. This wasn't longing. It was a post-mortem report. You wanted less of me, I said. You got none of me. The math is pretty simple. Behind him, I saw Jamie waving me toward dinner. I hope you find what you're looking for, Miles, I said. Excuse me. And I walked away. I felt his stare burning into my back, a silent implosion of a man who finally realized he'd been dismissed. Not dumped, dismissed. And I didn't look back. I didn't see Miles again for the rest of the wedding. He didn't hover near the door. He didn't try to corner me. He didn't attempt a grand gesture, a drunken speech, or a clumsy declaration of love. He just disappeared into the background noise, swallowed by the very social world he'd once believed made him untouchable. Meanwhile, I laughed with friends, clinked champagne glasses, and let a warm, unfamiliar sense of freedom settle into my bones. For the first time in years, I wasn't filtering myself through someone else's approval. I wasn't worrying whether I was trying too hard. I wasn't shrinking. I was simply alive. By the time I stepped outside for some fresh air, the sky had deepened to a stunning navy. The city hummed below, lights flickering like 1,000 tiny secrets. My phone buzzed once in my clutch. Unknown number 9, 18 p.m. I see. I'm nothing to you now, am I? I didn't open it fully, just saw the preview and swiped it away. The last gasp of an ego collapsing under its own weight. Not my concern anymore. Months later, life has a strange way of expanding once you stop living in someone else's shadow. I found a new apartment, small, sunlit, and filled with the quiet hum of possibility. I reopened my savings account under my name alone. I started cooking again the way I used to, not for social media, not for aesthetic approval, but because chopping onions and hearing them sizzle in the pan made me feel grounded. And I met someone. His name was Liam, a landscape architect with earth under his nails, calluses on his palms, and a laugh that warmed the room. On our third date over pizza, in mismatched chairs at a tiny local spot, I told him the story. Not dramatically, not bitterly, just truthfully. He listened with his whole face, his whole attention. When I finished, he didn't tilt his head and say, "You're too sensitive." He didn't sigh and suggest I'd misunderstood. He didn't joke about me being me. He just murmured, "Her loss." And also, what does "well you" even mean, "you're you," which is kind of wonderful. It wasn't a line. It wasn't flattery. It was simple, steady truth, something I hadn't been given in a long time. Present day. It was a Thursday evening when everything finally clicked into place. I was in my kitchen stirring pasta sauce in a pot. My books were on the shelf. My own chosen art, old maps, blueprint sketches, watercolors hung on the walls. Liam was on the balcony humming to himself as he repotted a plant he'd rescued from a dying situation. Bach played softly from the speaker. The air smelled like tomatoes, basil, and warmth. My phone lit up on the counter. Miles, 7:02 p.m. I'm in town for the night, staying at the Chancellor. I know I don't deserve it, but I'd give anything for 15 minutes. Just to see you, for closure. I stared at the message, not with longing, not with anger, not even with satisfaction. Just a mild, distant curiosity. The kind you feel when you see last week's weather report, irrelevant, outdated, no longer connected to your life. The name Miles might as well have been an artifact in a museum, a label beneath glass explaining a creature that no longer existed. "What's that look for?" Liam asked, stepping inside, dirt on his fingers and tenderness in his eyes. "Nothing important," I said, and I meant it. I picked up the phone. I didn't block the number. I didn't craft a clever final reply. I didn't indulge the closure he thought he needed. I simply deleted the message, turned the phone face down, walked over to Liam, and kissed his temple. "Just spam," I whispered. "Dinner's ready." He smiled. "Perfect timing. I'm starving." And the thing is, it was perfect timing. Every step that had broken me down had also built this moment. The warm kitchen, the music, the steady love, the quiet peace, the version of myself that no longer